Hey everybody, welcome back to Tango Talks. This is season 2, episode, well, where are we on our episodes? I'll have to figure that one out later. But tonight we have our guest, Michelle Miles, and she believes in fairy tales, true love, and a little bit of magic in every story. She writes fantasy, paranormal, and young adult books packed with adventure, action, and swoon-worthy romance. Because what's a story without a little bit of danger and a whole lot of heart? From angels and demons to dragons, elves, and time travelers, her books are filled with epic quests, fierce heroines, and the kind of heroes worth falling for. When she's not crafting new adventures, she brings stories to life as a narrator and host, Miles Beyond the Page, a podcast where she chats with authors about their writing journeys. She's a Texas girl through and through, and she loves getting lost in a good book, binge watching movies, hiking the trails, and sipping a glass of wine, which we all kind of love to do. Come hang out with her on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and more. And she will be joining us soon, and we will start the show. Thank you very much.
I think I'm here.
I
snuck in.
You snuck in. I usually tag in a couple minutes before the show so I can run off some of these about our guest things, and then I edit them up afterwards. But hey, thanks for
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to figure it out. So it took me a minute.
That's okay. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very well, very well. I'm flying solo tonight. My co-host she's been sick now for 2 weeks, and yeah, I feel really bad for her. She's not doing so well. I asked her how she was feeling yesterday, and she's like, I feel like mud.
Oh no! Well, I hope she gets better.
Yeah, I hope so too. But welcome to the show. I don't know how much of the preamble you heard me ramble on about, but
I didn't. I heard briefly my bio.
Yes, I was running through it quickly. We're still fairly new at doing this. We only started this last April.
Oh, cool!
So this is our second season, and we are inviting awesome people like you to join our show so that we can have more interesting talks instead of what me and Angela like to drink and do on our weekends. But
Well, thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. When I was reading your bio on Podmatch, I was like, oh my goodness, I love her bio because we are huge fantasy and paranormal people.
Oh, so, sweet. Yeah, awesome. Well,
so great.
Awesome. I love talking about my stuff. So
there you go. You know what I mean? I mean, that's awesome too. I did choose the title for this episode was Weaving Magic into Every Story, Crafting Worlds Readers Fall in Love With. I just thought that was a great title. I fell in love with it. But again, welcome to the show.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
So let's start right off with what first inspired you to start writing fantasy and fairy tale retellings?
Well, that's a great question. So I have wanted to write fantasy for a long time. And I started my fantasy love when I was in high school. And I read a couple of fantasy books that just really spoke to me. But writing fantasy is not easy. I mean, there's world building involved and magic systems and just depending on the story, on how to build these worlds. And so I actually
characters in line.
Yes, keeping the characters are feral. So yeah, I actually started writing contemporary romance, and then I knew I didn't really want to write that. I really, really wanted fantasy. And so I tried my hand at a couple, and then, I started with a series that was for an old publisher that's no longer around, but I've re-released the books. They're fantasy romance. And the first book I wrote was basically a time travel where she goes back in time to the 1300s in medieval Scotland, and the hero is in a jousting tournament, and so she's kind of a meddlesome
Well,
gal, and
you're
she
already speaking to my heart because I'm Scottish.
oh, okay. So she and there's some fey magic in it, and so I wrote that series, and it did okay. But I really love world building. I like creating these worlds. I like creating characters. I like kind of seeing, put these characters in these strange situations and seeing how they're going to adapt or whatever. And then with the fairy tales, I had just finished, I started this dark paranormal romance series. The first book was published in 2020, and it took me a long time to write the 5 books. And
5 books. Oh my goodness.
yeah, so that's the
I'm
series.
I'm always amazed and so wildly impressed by people who can write stories, you know what I mean, and put them into these books that, people love to read and they make sense,
Yeah.
I've always thought about doing it, and it's just like I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah, that's the trickiest part, is knowing where to start. But yeah, so I wrote this really dark demons and angels and dark end of the world, end of days kind of series, and I wanted something light and different. And so I had been thinking about fairy tales for a long, long time, and I finally just decided I'm going to go for it. And so I sat down one day and started mapping out which fairy tales I wanted to retell. And I wanted to do the most popular ones, Cinderella, Snow White, Beauty and the Beast, Sleeping Beauty, all those. And so I mapped it all out, and now I have at least 12 books ready. I have 5. I wrote 5 full novels. I have 3 novellas, and then I have more coming. I'm just right now I'm back writing on a dark paranormal romance series. So they're coming. And that's why I like writing them. And the thing about fairy tales to me is that they're sweet romances. So it's all about hope and love and what they have to overcome to be together.
Now, do you do like a whole storyboard too? Like, so once you come up with your theme, do you like sit down and kind of like, I for me, because so I'm a graphic designer, and sometimes I open up a page in our graphics program, and I'll just throw a bunch of stuff on there and start moving things around. It's like, okay, I like that, get rid of that, like that. So I've always wondered, for writers, is it kind of the same thing? Do you just like write pages of stuff, or do you kind of like sketch things out a little bit?
Well, I'm weird. So now some writers they're plotters, they sit down, they know what the book is going to be about from start to finish. I typically, when I start a new series, like with the fairy tales, I know what the concept is. I know what the theme is. I know what my tropes are. I have a blurb. That's about it. And then I sit down and start writing, and I wing it. So I'm what is called a pantser, and then there are parts of the story where I have to stop and go, okay, I need to know what happens here because I'm stuck. So I'll sit and kind of think about and do some brainstorming about what happens next and why and what are the characters doing and all of that. But mostly I just kind of wing it, and so. Yeah, I'm weird. So I don't storyboard at all. I mean, I know who my characters are. I do a little bit of that characterization. I sit down and figure out who they are, what they want, what their goal, motivation, conflict, all of that is. And then when you're writing romance, you have another layer as to what is the romance, why are they trying not to fall in love with each other, and what is the conflict between that. And so it just adds another layer. And you really want, for romance, you really want the story, the romance, to be plot driven too. You want it to make sense.
Right.
And it has to end with a happy ending, or happy for now, if it's romance. That's the rule.
I'm only going to ask this because if you've listened to any of our shows, I always have to apologize to listeners because when Angela's here, we'll get talking, and all of a sudden I'm off on a tangent. Do you find at any point when you're writing these books that all of a sudden you're heading in the wrong direction? It's like, wait. Hey, everyone. Hope you're enjoying this show so far. I know we're only about 10 minutes in, but it's time for me to butt in with my drink of the evening. And tonight I've gone back to an old favorite, Proper 12. I believe it's a Scotch, and it's Irish made, and I haven't had it for a while. It's been sitting on my bar shelf out here in the studio, and I saw it tonight, and I was like, you know what? I think that's going to be really good tonight. And I was not surprised because it was delicious as I've always remembered it. So that's my drink for tonight. And go out, get yourself some. And I really need to start asking for some sponsorship for the things that I promote on the show. But anyways, thanks for listening, and back to Michelle. Right now.
Oh yeah.
That's wrong. That's
Yes, I have done that before. I have, deleted chunks of words. Like there was one time where I was about 60,000 words into a book and went, "This is the wrong direction," and I cut it in half and threw it away. And yeah, that's hard.
I would
But when you're learning to write, that's just part of it. That's part of learning. And now I'm to the point where I can sit down and I can think about the plot and what makes sense. And when I go off the rails, I know almost immediately. But there are also times where I'm writing and something happens and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't see that coming." And it's weird, but also when you write a lot, your subconscious likes to plant little red herrings, I guess. Yeah, little seeds, things that are in that. Like I did this on this last book I finished. I planted some little interesting tidbits in there, and I went, "Oh, I know why that happens now." So, yeah. And then in one book I wrote, the Beauty and the Beast retelling, I did not know who the villain was until the very end of the book. I was writing the last.
How do you not know that? I'm so confused.
I did. Yeah, I know it's strange to think about, but I mean, I had this character that kept popping up, and he was doing like terrible things, and I hadn't really put it together in my brain yet. And as I was going along, I was like, "Oh," I get to this one chapter. I'm like, "Oh, that's him. He's the one. He's the one that's being a total jerk." So, yeah, it's just. Sometimes it's just weird like that. Writing is weird.
See, it just sounds like, to me, it just sounds like complete magic. You know what I mean? To be able to come up with these characters. My son wrote a book a couple years ago, and he put it on Amazon. We bought a copy, and it showed up, and this thing was like, I don't know, 2.5 inches thick. And I'm like, "Dude, I love you, but your father can't get through the instructions and how to put things together without."
Well, and my books are fairly long. So like I'm the last book I finished was almost 100,000 words, which is about 400 pages. So yeah, it's long. I tell long stories for the most part. Like the longer, the dark paranormal romances that I write, they are complicated, dark. They have a lot of layers. There's a lot going on. There's some subplots. The fairy tales are a little bit shorter. They're very straightforward. It's the romance. It's what's going to happen. It's how are they going to break the curse, or where are they going to break the spell, or whatever.
Well, where could we find those, the dark novels? Where could we find those?
So I'm on Amazon. The Dark Paranormal Romance is the Dreamwalker series. It is in Kindle Unlimited. And so all 5 books are there. The first book is called Call of the Dark. And I am currently working on a spin-off series for that will follow the 2 main characters that are in those books. And then, I just finished that first book, and now I'm working on the second one. And I think what I have decided to finally do, this is the beauty of being an indie author, is I'm just going to write all 3 books, and then I'll wrap it. I'll release them all together later in the year. So
that's awesome. That's, again, like to me, people who can write, it's just like when I see people who can put music together.
Yeah,
it's just like magic to me. It's like, how do you do that? You know what I mean? But it's thrilling nonetheless. It's just amazing, that how creative you are and the ability to put stories together.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I'm sure I if I could do it, I'm sure I would love it. I just don't even know where to start. But so how do you approach building these immersive, magical worlds for that your readers fall in love with?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for the fairy tales, I knew I wanted to do a connected world. So it is a series, but each book can be read in any order. But I I wanted to connect them in a way. And so what I decided to do, and I had some like readers didn't get it at first, so I had to explain it. But for the full length fairy tale novels, and this is called the Enchanted Realms series, in those, the full length novels, I have a prologue and I have an epilogue. And so the prologue is an aunt telling her niece basically the story. So it's a once upon a time. That's why all the books are once upon a whatever. And so the aunt is telling the niece once upon a time, she's telling her the story, and that's the book. And then there's an epilogue where we come back to them. But those stories in that prologue epilogue are eventually going to, it's going to become her, she's going to have her own book, the niece. She's going to eventually have her own book. So it is a continuing story with the novels. So that's one way they're connected. It's like a frame story. It's like The Princess Bride, right? Where the grandfather is reading the book to the grandson. That was my thought process. And then, so it's a connected world. So all of the world, it's just and I have a giant map that I like to play with that I populate with every novel. So I just have a giant map where this is the Enchanted Realms. This is the realms, and every book that I write goes into that enchanted realm. And I kind of pick which realm they're going to live in for that book, and then I just connect them. And sometimes there's a little bit of crossover. I am planning some crossover. Like I have a Red Riding Hood sequel retelling that I'm going to be doing. The novella is a Red Riding Hood, and then I'm going to write a full length novel. And there's going to be some crossover with the Snow White in there.
I'm just mesmerized listening to you talk about doing this. It's just like I'm just sitting there staring at the screen, like with my mouth half open, going like, "Oh my goodness, I can't."
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the way my brain works, and I think about, and it doesn't all come to me at once. Like I as I have been writing these fairy tales, the world has been expanding, and I think of different things that I can do, and how can I tell this story, and how can I twist this story, and where am I going to put them, and how can they interact with each other. And so that's kind of how I think about it. And then for the Dark Paranormal series, the Dreamwalker series, that story, I really wanted to tell a quest story. So I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan.
Oh, I love you already.
I grew up on those movies. I grew up on Star Wars and all of that.
Yes.
And so I was very inspired by kind of those stories of adventure and questing and swashbuckling and all of that. And so I have been thinking about how could I spin it? And then this story just kind of came to me from start to finish. And I mean, I knew the first book. I knew how it was going to start. I knew how it was going to end. Everything else in between, had no idea. But I really wanted to tell the story of a quest. And so my Dreamwalker books, the main character, she is a relic hunter. And she's been tasked with finding a holy relic. So each book is her going on this quest, and all these weird things happen to her, and she's a mess, and her heart is in the right place, but sometimes she makes the wrong decisions, and things happen, and she's just a mess. But she's so much fun to write. Yeah, she's so much fun to write. She is very sarcastic, self-aware, very wry, very, very, that she uses humor as kind of her armor to shield herself from the deep feelings, because she's not good with that.
That's so funny, because I do that at the doctor's office all the time. I say the stupidest things, but they always laugh at me.
Right.
It's just like it's like a defense thing. It's like, you're trying to calm yourself down, but you just say the weirdest things. Sometimes they just look at me like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so the story is it's the slow burn romance. So the hero that she meets in chapter 2, I mean, she's not interested at all, but some things happen, and they end up, he ends up following her around, and they, not really stalking, but he's just like inserting himself in her life, and she's keeps trying to say go away, and he doesn't. And so 5 books later, they finally admit to each other that, yeah, you're the one for me. So anyway, it's just that was the premise of that story, and it's a modern day setting. It's kind of urban fantasy. So every book, I would sit down and figure out, okay, this is the quest. This is the relic. Where is it hidden? How does she find it? What are the clues? What city? And so she goes from Hong Kong to Istanbul to Jerusalem. She's like basically all over the world.
It sounds like an Indiana Jones story.
Yeah, it is. And she has her superpower is that she can dream walk, so she can see into other people's dreams, and she has angelic blood, so she can see the relics. She knows they're the true relic when she touches them. So that's kind of her thing. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, it sounds so exciting. I'm looking at your bio page right now, and I see the website here. I'm gonna have to go and I just bought a book like 2 weeks ago from another guest. I was like, I have to get that book and take a look at it.
Yeah. So you can get. I'm everywhere. I'm in Amazon and Barnes and Noble, Apple, wherever. Nice. And I have a direct sales site, so you can get most of my ebooks, everything except that's in KU. You can get those direct from me, and as well as paperbacks at michellemilesbooks.com.
Awesome. Do you have like one favorite character that you really, really like?
Oh, that's such a loaded question.
I know. I was just thinking about it. It's like as I'm reading through stuff and hearing you talk, it's like she's got to have one that she really likes.
Yeah. So I mean, it depends on the book, but there's like these characters that I'm working this spinoff series. These two characters, they are probably my favorite couple. To date. They are so much fun to write. There's a lot of friction between them because he's very controlled, tactical. He's an ancient immortal warrior, and he's very controlling in that he will do anything to protect her. He will burn down the world to protect her, literally. And she's like, I can make my own choices. I'm a big girl. Stop trying to dictate to me. But that causes a lot of friction between them, and they have great banter. And so and it's a sexy romance, so they have really hot sex. Can I say that?
That's what we put all of our podcasts under the E rating because we don't know what's going to get said.
Okay, good. Yeah. I'll try not to cuss.
That's okay. Yeah. We had a guest a couple weeks ago. He was like, can I swear on here? And we were like, and both at the same time, I was like, hell yeah. He goes, and he said something, and I won't repeat it, but he was like, yeah, something fantastic. I was like, well, continue
on. That's funny. But yeah, so those two are so much fun to write. They are probably my favorite characters to write. And I, like I said, I had finished the Dreamwalker series. The last book came out a couple of years ago, and I had started thinking about it again. And I'm like, man, I miss those two. They were so fun to write. And so I started kind of brainstorming about, well, what could I do as a continuation, and what could I do as a spinoff? What could I do that is, different, that's not Angels and Demons and End of the World? And so the idea I came up with was, what if the person you love most is turned into a weapon against you? So,
oh no.
Yeah. So that was the question that popped into my head. And I thought, okay, what if, because I have this tactical immortal warrior who is, he will burn down the world to keep her out of harm's way. What if she's kidnapped and weaponized against him? Then what? So I wrote it, and it was hard to write. It was hard. It was, but it was interesting to write that dynamic and sort of figure out how they are going to basically learn how to coexist with each other, because she's a weapon that was right. Trained to kill him.
So I know, like, for me, like I carry my iPad with me almost everywhere, and use Google Keep, and I just write down notes during the day of things like I need to do, and I assign a date and time to it and stuff. Do you carry something, like, do you have like a notepad next to your bed at night, and wake up in the middle of the night and just like, oh, I gotta write that down, I gotta remember that, and put that in the store? Hey everyone, is just Tango chiming back in again. just a reminder, I hope you're enjoying this season with the added guests that we're bringing in. I know I've enjoyed many of them. If we make you smile, or if you think we're dumb as fuck, just, give us a shout out. Like us, share us. Maybe somebody else likes us. Would like to see us up higher on the ranks, and especially on Apple Podcasts. That's where we get the most bang for the buck, I sort of say. And we really need those subscribes and follows. So it's free for now. We have opened up advertising, so we will start taking advertising spots, and they're pretty cheap this year. They're starting out, they're $30 a spot, and in an episode. But really, sorry that we have to keep begging you guys for this, but we really need to. We're at almost at the 1,500 people mark right now, which we're growing faster and faster each month, and it's by the grace of God and you people, liking us and following us and listening to us. But let's keep it going. Let's see how far we can take it this year, and let's make 2026 the best podcast year so far. Thank you again, and back to the show.
I should, because I do some of my most brilliant writing when I'm half asleep, but I don't. And but what I do is I do have an iPad and a keyboard, and every day on my lunch hour I write, and then every evening I write. So I try to write at least 2 hours a day. Sometimes the story takes over my life, and I write more than that. I try not to write on weekends, but sometimes, but when I'm in, I wrote almost 80,000 words in January because the story would not stop. So, so sometimes it just works out like that. And then sometimes, I just keep to my I try to write about 10,000 words a week. That's kind of my schedule. Because I also have a day job. So I have to work it all out within the schedule.
I think I write 10,000 words a week just in emails.
Oh, yeah, I don't doubt that. And so, no, I don't. But what I do is I try to jot down information, or I'll send myself an email, or I've really gotten good at writing in Word on my phone when I'm away from my laptop. I was like, I can just go type that in real quick. I know this, the dialogue is really, really big for me. And so when I think of something, he says this to her, I have to go write it down really quick. And so that's what I do.
I think everybody's got their own way of doing that. Keeping little notes along the way.
Yeah.
To keep them on track to complete the project.
Yeah, I do. And sometimes, like I said, sometimes I just wing it and just write whatever comes, not really whatever comes to mind. I do know what I want the story to be overall.
Right.
I know things specific.
Or you said you know how it's going to begin and where you want to end. It's just now, how do we get from here to there?
Right. And I do have specific plot points. Okay, I know this and this has to happen. Now, how do I get there? And so normally I write from start to finish, but sometimes the book dictates how it wants to go. It's here's a scene, go write this, and we'll figure out where it goes later. Sometimes that happens to me too. So yeah.
So what advice, and I actually told my son to listen in on this episode, whether he is or not, I don't know. But I said, you got to listen to this one. It's going to be a good one. But what advice would you give aspiring authors about building a sustainable creative career and worlds? To go even further, you build these sustainable worlds that you can build on and add to.
Yes, that's a great question. First I'll answer how to build a sustainable career. I think you just have to keep writing. You just have to know that it's the long game. It's not a sprint. Just the more you write, the more you learn about your process and how you write and what kind of writer you are. Are you a pantser? Are you a plotter? What kind of writer are you when you sit down and be consistent? make it a routine. Figure out what, if you really, really want to do this for a living, you just really have to be committed to that, learning the craft, and read everything, not just in the genre you want to write in, but read everything that you can get your hands on, whether it's, fiction, nonfiction, whatever. Read craft books, learn the craft. And then if you decide to go full on indie author, like I am, learn the process, learn the business, learn the things that you are in control of everything pretty much. But, figure out how to get cover art. There's so many places out there to get pre-made covers that are decent, that are inexpensive. It is not a cheap thing to be a writer, let me tell you, because you have to pay for everything. The editing,
I don't know, I don't want to say the wrong words and offend you, but, side hustle, whatever, whatever, people category people put in. I don't think any of that stuff is cheap anymore.
It's not.
We have our home woodworking shop here that we sell our stuff on Etsy, and it's expensive sometimes. You got to buy all this equipment. You got to be able to cut wood, sand it, and all this other stuff. So I can imagine, and it's like that with everybody. Like you've got to have your equipment and your printers, and it's just
yeah. Well, and so I'm doing a ton of book. You can't see my office right now. I am surrounded by boxes because I have like a ton of events that I'm doing this year, and one is a big 3-day expo in early March, and so I think I have about 500 paperbacks sitting behind me. It's insane. But so my advice is learn everything you can about the business, the craft, write as much as you can, keep practicing, and don't get discouraged because it's such a hard, lonely business. There's so many of us that we latch onto each other because we need that support with each other, and find a group that you can jive with, whether it's just an individual or you can find, there's tons of writer groups now. And then for sustaining a world building, if you're wanting to write big worlds, world building is probably one of the hardest things, but it's also so much fun because the sky's the limit, right? So,
and that's why I threw it in there, because you mentioned it, and it was like, I gotta ask her. So, how do you do that?
Yeah, so I don't know how I would break it down, but really, what it starts for me is just as an idea. I want to write like the fairy tales. I want to write fairy tales. Okay, well, let's figure out how they're all connected. Why are they all connected? So I decided, for me, I want a connected world. I want to write these fairy tales in the same world, but people can pick up any book and not be lost. They don't have to read it from start to finish.
Right.
They can pick up any of the novellas. They can pick up any of the novels. Now, for my other series, and I have more than one series, but I have. For my other series, you kind of have to read it from book one, because there's an overarching story arc. You could read it as a standalone, you might miss some stuff, but overall, I try to write the books to where you can pick up any book and know what's going on, and then make you go, oh, I need to go read book one. But for world building, I think you just have to sit and figure out, like, a lot of people get way down into the weeds, and I don't. But you can set up your magic system. There's tons of resources out there. What is your magic system? What are the rules? What do you break? What do you not break? What is your government system? Do you have kings and queens? Do you have governors? Do you have presidents? And then, you have to figure out what your culture is. What is the culture of the world? What is the religion of the world? Why? How are you using it? And it just depends on how detailed you want to get. It can be huge.
Right. Well, you know what it reminds me of, like building Star Trek worlds.
Yeah.
Because they were so in depth into, like, the culture, and do they have a religion, and what can you do and what can't you do on this planet, and
right.
And so, I obviously I said that because I'm a huge Star Trek fan.
Me too.
But and I love, one of the things I loved about it is that when they wrote, when they did their stories, it was so complete.
Yes.
They had culture and religion and all these things tied into there. So that's great that you said that with the stories too.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to write, it just depends on what kind of fantasy you're writing. Like if you're writing the big epic fantasies, like George R. R. Martin. I don't know if you've read any of those books. They are massive. His worlds are huge. His Westeros world is ginormous. There's like about 1,000 characters. I'm not even lying.
Oh
Um,
my
I
goodness.
I think if you're writing that type of fantasy, you're going to want to know what your hierarchy is, what your culture is, what your everything is. Um, for me, I don't like to get too into the weeds with the fantasy stuff. I'm very like, here's what's happening. But you can imagine. I like to leave a lot of it up to the reader imagination.
Well, and I think that's the, I have friends who, we break balls back and forth, and I always tease them whenever like we go watch a new movie and, he'll mention a book. It was like, wow, it's great that they came out with the movie and they wrote a book about it. You know what I mean? And of course, the first time I said it to him, I thought his jaw hit the floor. He's like, you realize it's the other way around. I was like, I know.
Yeah.
But I think that's what, and as much as I love movies, I think that's the part that you lose when you watch a movie.
It is.
And I hear so many people say it's like, oh, that was a great movie, but the book was so much better because we can all envision the book differently in our heads. You know,
right.
As you're reading it, we all have a different vision of that world that they're talking about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think movies are great. Like I love movies too. I haven't had as much time to sit down and watch what I want to watch, but there's something magical about books because you're stepping into a world that is just solely created by this one person. And it's all open to not really interpretation, but every reader reads it differently. Like, it's just how the world is built and they envision it differently. And I try really hard to keep it. I don't describe every detail because that gets boring and nobody wants an info dumpy type book. So I try very hard
like the grass was 6 inches tall and waving in the wind and it was green. It was this, it was that.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. I mean,
you leave somebody, that's what I think is so magical about books is that it leaves the reader to build in their imagination.
Yes.
You give them a good enough details that they're just like, oh, okay, that's awesome. That's a cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why I like reading as well. I mean, it's such a solitary thing too. And sometimes I'm like, oh, have you read this book? You really have to read this book. And it's hard to, convey that, everybody sees movies. Oh, did you see this movie? Yeah. What'd you think? It was great. You read the same book. Maybe it's not the same story for them. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but hopefully.
No, I get it. I get it. Like I said, friends of mine, they're avid book readers, and I mean they read tons of books. And we've had this discussion many times. It's like, and because we go see movies, quite a bit with each other, and that's the first thing they say is like, oh, that movie was awesome, but the book is just a little bit better. Yeah.
It's because you can immerse yourself. Yeah,
because you take all the imagination out of the movie. You take it how what person read that book, this is how they envisioned the movie to look like. So you don't get to imagine anything to it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's why I like when I am writing a book, I am living in that fictional world. Like sometimes it's really hard for me to pull my head out of that. So, right now I'm as I said, I'm working on I'm working on the second book of this trilogy and it's still psychological warfare. So I'm living in that world and it's just so interesting to me to sit and figure out how things are, what's going to happen. And, I just live in that world for so long. And by the way, I have a new book out today.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
My co-writer, Misty Evans, and I we have a romantasy series that book 1 came out last month. Book 2 is out today. And book 2 is about a pirate and it's a seafaring adventure. So I'm very excited for it to be out.
Can we get it on Amazon?
You can. It's called, the series is called Legends of the Five Crowns. And the first book is The Flame and the Dragon. And it has a dragon shifter hero. And the second book is called Tide of Stolen Thrones. And it's out today.
Nice. I'm actually typing this into the live show, so people who are watching, if they have the app open, can see this, so they'll have a reference to it also.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah. So it's out today. And so we had great fun writing it. There is a third book coming, but she and I are pretty busy. So we're trying to figure out where to squeeze it in.
It's hard when you have something like this in your life that you really, really enjoy and love. And because I know, I'm for me, like doing my wood shop stuff is the same thing. I love doing it. I wish I could do it just 24/7. But the reality is I gotta eat.
Right. Exactly.
So until we hit it really big time, you know what I mean? We do okay, but until we hit it really big time, I gotta do both. But I totally get your feeling on it. It's like I could totally just be upstairs, like cutting wood all day long. 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, it's very immersive, and I work on so many different things too. It's fun it's just fun. I mean, I have so many books I want to write, and I just don't have the time in my life.
Do you keep like a list of them and go back to them every once in a while and just add a little bit more detail to them?
Yeah, so I have a Word or on my laptop, I have a folder where I have every series that I've either already finished or one I really want to work on. And then I have a series that I am dying to write about a pirate and a dragon. But I have other things to finish first. And so I will go in and just make notes on that whenever I think of stuff.
Yeah.
I keep a running Word doc and I call it a story Bible.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah. So I have, for this fairy tale series, I have a massive story Bible where I have, the title, the fairy tale I'm retelling, what the theme is, the tropes, the blurb, the characters, where they are, the setting. So I keep all of that in one. And there's so many tools out there that writers can use for this kind of stuff. But again, I'm weird. I'm old school. I like a Word doc.
I do it the same way. I've got a folder. In my Google Drive that just says, hey, Tanksters, just me, Tango, chiming in for our third and final time during the episode. There's a couple things. So this is where I usually do Tango Tech, and it's going to be a little bit of a self-promo thing. We're gearing up for opening up our new location, and we want to let people know that we have quick copy services. We do booklets. We do posters and wood carvings. We've just started doing, you can send us a photo and we can do a 3D carving of it in wood or in high density urethane, which are very cool looking. Also, don't forget to check out our website. We have Tankster gear starting to come up online where you can get t-shirts, sweatshirts, tank tops. We've got a canteen for your whiskey. We've got magnetic bottle openers that go up on on your refrigerator, plus the bookmark style bottle openers, I guess is what you call them. And we're going to be adding more stuff to that. Plus, don't forget to check us out on patreon.com/Tango Talks 66. We've got some really, really nice giveaway stuff on there for some of our patrons. And, you need to go check some of that stuff out. They're really, really sharp looking stuff. And we would appreciate, you being a patron of the show. And other than that, hope you're still enjoying the show, and we appreciate you being here and listening. And back to it. What is it called? New projects to try.
Yeah,
and it's just like 100,000 things in there. I find these new things like, just throw it in there. One of these days we'll do it. You know,
right.
And every once in a while I go in there when I have free time. I was like, oh, let's pull this one out and let's actually bring it to reality. You know what I mean? We'll,
Yeah.
develop it out and we'll carve it or whatever we have to do to it. But yeah, I just,
Yeah.
and
So
then my husband's always sending me stuff from Pinterest. He's like, oh, I just sent you an email. Like,
exactly. And when I was planning the fairy tales, I was still trying to finish up the other series. When I was planning the fairy tales, I would just go in and like write stuff down that I thought about. Oh, I want to. This is how I want to spin this story, or whatever. And so I have my next one that I'm going to write after I finish the series is going to be the Snow Queen retelling. I have to get there.
that one, yeah, that one sounds good.
Yeah.
Not that they, not that they aren't all good, but
no. I know
that one. I kind of know the premise to it, so
yeah.
I love what they've done with that already. What's your favorite fairy tale to retell, and how do you make it like your own?
Of the ones I've written, I did a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which I really loved writing. It was a lot of fun.
That's really exciting.
For me, and it's out now. It's called Once Upon an Enchanted Castle. So that my spin on that was she was a translator of languages. She could translate any book, magic books. So she had this. She was a scribe, basically. She could translate these books. The hero was a werewolf by night. So rather than him being a beast all the time, I really wanted to have a different spin on it, in that he was human during the day and a werewolf at night. And so they meet in a bookshop, of course, because her father is a merchant. He comes home from his sailings at the beginning of the book, and he always brings her gifts. And so he brings her this mysterious book that no one can read. And so then things happen. They go wrong. They end up leaving the port to go to their country house. And she decides, this book is haunted. I'm going to offload this book. I got to get rid of it. It's freaking me out. She goes to the local bookshop in the village, and she meets the hero, and he recognizes the book, and he says, I'll buy it from you, and I will pay you to translate it for me, because he knows that book is the key to breaking his curse. And so that's how the story goes. And she doesn't move in with him. She goes to visit him at his secluded, dark, and desolate castle. And he lets her use his massive library. And he has all of these enchanted books that do all these crazy things. And that's how she figures out how to translate the book, and of course there's a romance. So
your imagination is just mind-blowing. It's so exciting to hear these stories that you have, and again, I'm so envious that you can, I'm envious anybody who can put together a book and do a story. I mean, in high school I used to love reading, but as I've gotten older,
yeah,
I have like a severe attention deficit, and I get like 3 paragraphs in, I can't even remember what I read.
I understand.
So it's very hard for me. That's why I enjoy movies so much, because I can absorb the movie better than I can the books. But I used to love reading the books because, like I said before, because the imagination it invokes,
Yeah. So I don't know where that came from, why I decided that, but one day as I was just talking to my sister-in-law, I went, you know what? I think this is what happens in my Beauty and the Beast retelling. She's like, wow, that's cool. So,
yeah, I love that. I love that whole remix of that storyline. It's just, that's going to be cool.
It was a lot of fun to write. And Leopold is the hero, and he has a delicious wardrobe. So I really enjoyed writing that, because it's kind of set in a Victorian-esque kind of realm. And so I really had a lot of fun writing that. What are they wearing? They eat a lot of scones and drink a lot of tea.
I was totally born in the wrong century.
Yeah. So those my fairy tales, they eat a lot of food and drink a lot of tea.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's fun to write.
Michelle, you're such a delight to talk to. What's next for you, and how can readers stay connected with you? I've been posting some of your links during into the live chat. So, but just how can people stay connected with you?
Yeah, sure. I have a website. I'm at michellemiles.net. I have a direct sales site that's at michellemilesbooks.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Threads. I've been spending lots of times on Threads. And I have a newsletter that you can sign up for and get a free book that you can get through my website. If you go to michellemilesbooks.net, you can sign up there and you can get a free Red Riding Hood fairy tale, and then get on my newsletter list and stay connected to everything that I am doing, which is a lot of stuff.
Nice. Now, you said that was michellemilesbooks.net?
Yes. And I also have a podcast. So you can listen to Miles Beyond the Page every Tuesday, and I interview authors from all stages of their writing life. And we talk about their books and their writing journey and their publication journey and all of that stuff. And it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's fun too. I love that.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm a very busy person, but it's great. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I certainly appreciate you taking the time out and talking with me tonight and being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolute charm to talk to.
Thank you.
I could listen to your voice all day long.
Well, you can go listen to my podcast.
And, keep up the fantastic work. I mean, I just love hearing about your stories and
Thank you.
And I love your remake on, what we've grown up with, all these fairy tales, and your take and remake on them is just amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I have more coming. I have, and if you like Pose the Raven, I did a gothic romance take on that. So that's out too. But I have more fairy tales coming, and this year I will be releasing a cozy fantasy that is adjacent to the cozy or to the fairy tale series. It's set in the modern world, and then I'm also working on a dark paranormal romance series that will be out later
paranormal. That's my jam right there.
Yeah. So I just finished that first book. It's called Dark Night of the Soul. I don't have a release date yet, so I'm trying to write all 3 books so I can release them all at the same time, hopefully, and they'll probably be in KU, but they'll be out later this year. So that's what I've got going on this year.
Just a few things.
Just a few.
Well, again, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here, and and have a good night. I mean, go.
Thanks.
I could, like I said, I could talk to you for the next 4 hours.
Yes, I know. Well, I appreciate you having me on the show. It was a blast.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks. You too.
Bye-bye. Hey, Tanksters, one last announcement. We will be doing the Utica, New York St. Patrick's Day Parade. We will be driving our cute little Eruption Green Maverick all done up. A friend of mine, she came up with the idea, and she is doing flowers and ribbons for it right now. And Angela and I will be in the back in a mocked out podcast booth doing our show live as a special edition on the road from the St. Patrick's Day Parade. So look out for us. We'll be handing out some stuff, and hope to see you there. Thank you much, and thanks for listening. Appreciate you.